Conservatism is highly developed in the two-wheeled world, and anything that disrupts established stereotypes in motorcycle construction is sure to receive a certain amount of attention, as such occurrences are quite rare. And actually, there are a bunch of ways to build a motorcycle that's not like that. Can you redesign the suspension like the Honda Elf, the chassis like the Alligator Gordy, or approach the issue thoroughly and build something like the Ducati Eleanor, Neander, or Drysdale engines? The Super 32 Rovesio, built by the tiny Roman manufacturer Nimbo Motocicletti, is exactly that kind of iconoclastic machine. This motorcycle completely overturns the engine design, flipping it upside down because the designer, Daniel Sabatini, firmly believed that he could construct a superior motor by turning it on its head. In inverted engines, where the crankshaft is located above the cylinders, there's nothing new. In piston aircraft, inverted engines were used for the majority of the century. By placing cylinders and heads under crankcase, you can raise attachment point of propeller, achieving advantageous aerodynamic shape for aircraft, better visibility for pilot, and convenience for maintenance. You also significantly shift the center of gravity, which helps in control, for example, with combat aircraft. On two-wheeled, such a power unit has only been installed once before. A flipped inline four-cylinder engine with a displacement of 600 cubic centimeters was built as a prototype by the French company MGC in 1939. He conquered the creepy 666 kilometers of trials with a stroller before he was put on ice. Well, the truth is, history got involved in the mix. The start of World War II put a halt to the project, never to be resumed again. Building an upside-down engine ain't as easy as flipping an existing one. To keep the engine lubricated, a number of modifications are required. All inverted engines must have a dry sump design, where the oil is stored in a separate tank and supplied to key lubrication points. In the key areas of the engine, you gotta have a few oil catch cans to remove the oil without letting it build up. Some old radial engines need to be checked and have the oil drained from the lower cylinders before starting, because the oil seeps through the pistons. Otherwise, you're gonna blow up the engine. So, having an upside-down engine makes sense in an airplane design, but why would you use it in a motorcycle? According to Sabatini, there are two reasons: functional and aesthetic. Motorcycle frames. This tough part is the core of the whole shebang. If you are using a motor as a stressed element, you usually want to attach the chassis directly to the engine. The Sabatini tried to maximize its concept. With the crankcase on top, he used the inherent rigidity of the crankcase and built a minimal frame around it, reducing the weight of the structure. He also wanted to radically shift the center of gravity. Contrary to popular belief, an extremely low center of gravity is not ideal, and today's thought boils down to mass centralization. Daniel thinks that all masses, including motorcyclists, should fit into a small circle. The smaller this circle, the better. An additional positive effect is that the cylinders located at the bottom are better cooled by the airflow. And secondly, aesthetics. Sabatini complained that the classic beauty of an open-air cooled engine has disappeared in favor of closed constructions with liquid cooling. So, the Nimba engine is designed to possess air cooling and an aesthetically pleasing appearance. This aesthetic aspiration extends to the design of the motorcycle itself. Only a naked roadster can satisfy a dog's desire for classic mechanical beauty with its unusual engine as the central element. For practical reasons, once again, it is lighter and much more comfortable for the driver, not so hot. The advanced engine design with high performance is clearly not the main focus here. In addition to air oil cooling, the Nimba engine is an inline 3-cylinder with one, in parentheses, lower camshaft and 2 valves per cylinder. Fuel injection through a large intake chamber with a single throttle body, similar to that of a car engine, instead of separate throttle valves, which you usually find in most performance-oriented motorcycle engines. The cylinder heads are not only flipped and facing downwards, but also have an intake exhaust system that differs from the traditional motorcycle design. Intake at front, exhaust at back. The large timing chain cover on left side resembles inverted AJS 7R engine. The goal is not maximum power at high revs, but a wide, useful power range for everyday driving. The engine delivers a massive amount of power in all directions simply because it's huge. During development, 3 engine options were announced. With 1814 cubic centimeters, 160 horsepower, and 165 newton meters of torque. 1925cc, 200 horsepower, 210 Newton-meters of torque. 2097cc engine, 250 horsepower, 255 nanometers torque. Triumph Rocket 3, 2294cc, about 145 horsepower, over 220 nanometers for reference. But the Triumph weighs 317 kilograms dry, while the Nimbus weighs only 150 kilograms. Wow, that's incredible! You can't deny the visual appeal of the engine design, and it's nice to see someone intentionally creating a beautiful engine. The project started in 2009 and went online in 2010, with photos of a finished engine on a test stand, accompanied by a press release and specifications from Sabatini, which detailed the philosophy and technical data of his new engine, which he named 32 Rovesio, 3 cylinders, 2 liters reverse. The crowd was impressed but had a skeptical attitude. Only a few individuals outside the aviation sector were acquainted with inverted engines and questioned their feasibility. Other skeptics claimed that it might work, but it guzzles oil at an unbelievable rate and doesn't offer any advantages over a regular engine. Most individuals questioned the anticipated power and weight attributes, which ultimately proved to be optimistic, if not unbelievable, for an engine that is cooled by air. The criticism disappeared when photos of the complete prototype were shown a few months later. The motorcycle looked menacing, with carbon fiber body elements and a massive engine that dominated the design. Up front was a regular suspension with an upside-down fork at 50mm, and strangely enough, the only brake is Brembo. The rear suspension, a springless air shock absorber, was installed, similar to the Virus and Bimota TC2D, attached to a swing arm with a box-shaped section made of carbon fiber. The frame was made up of 2 steel lattice subframes, bolted to both ends of the crankcase. The main bulk of the frame is basically the engine, with the least amount of subframes for seating and steering column. The prototype was photographed in front of the radial air-cooled engine. The critics ultimately quieted down in the month of July in the year 2011 when Nimbus showed up on the Francocorta track for the purpose of testing. A bright and beautiful Italian prototype came to life in the paddock with its unique sound. At full throttle, it made the distinctive mechanical sound of a British 3, but under load it sounded like a low-flying plane. The test driver praised the unusual design, noting excellent handling, wide power range, and absolutely magnificent sound. Based on the looks, the little rascal wasn't just an empty sound. Proof was tearing up the track, attracting curious spectators to the pit lane. The engine dominates the design and seems massive compared to other components. The pendulum is pretty long compared to the rest of the structure and is mounted high in the engine compartment due to the inverted layout. The intermediate shaft star is installed, positioned at knee level due to the gearbox being placed above the engine. The concealed frame and minimalistic appearance contribute to this utterly brutal design, as does the small suspension and seat, which are positioned high above the rear wheel. Some compared him to cafe racers, but what we have here is a badass custom-built street fighter. Despite being on his first trip on the track, Nimba didn't think of himself as a racing motorcycle. He was designed to be a high-performance street motorcycle that was supposed to be custom-built. At least that's how it was planned in 2011. Ever since then, there have been few updates from the company and their website isn't working. But the official Facebook community hints at speed records and an updated design, which means work is underway. 2 prototypes were built from open sources. 1,800 cubic, nicknamed Custer, black prototype made of carbon fiber and Pollux, red example in honor of the Dioscuri twins from Greek mythology. Prototype 002 Pollux was sold for some time at an undisclosed price. After the sale, mass production was supposed to begin. The production version should be equipped with a 1925 cubic centimeter engine. The declared power remains at 200 horsepower and 210 Newton meters of torque. Sabatini notes that the 2 existing prototypes are well built, but over the years, significant changes have been made to the engine design, and the production engine will be greatly improved. There were also plans to develop a racing version for the company on the Isle of Man. According to the latest news, the developers have announced a fundraising campaign on the crowdfunding platform Indiegogo. To establish production, they require 3.2 million euros, and the anticipated bike price is approximately $68,000. The most interesting thing is that in the initial press release, Nimba is described as the most expensive road motorcycle in the world, and Sabatini confirmed that the production version was supposed to cost around 300,000 euros per unit. Excessively, of course, but keep in mind, you ain't paying for a motorcycle that uses an existing engine. The Nimbo engine is 100% unique, and a high price is necessary to offset the huge costs of designing and building the engine on our own, without the support of major manufacturers. Nimbo is a weird offshoot on the motorcycle evolution tree. The advantage of this design is offset by the additional complexity of designing the engine from scratch. But if Nimbo used the same engine concept in a regular layout, we probably wouldn't be discussing this today, and Super 32 would have become an obscure project. Instead, he captured the imagination of the curious public and pissed off a bunch of critics. According to the press release from Nimba, their online advertising was all word of mouth and came from various blogs and forums. Nimba is a kind of technological experiment, which is a refreshing form of entertainment, an exercise in pure engineering creativity, driven by passion and a strong desire to do something different. True innovations in motorcycle design are a rare occurrence, but Sabatini created a machine that really stands out. Consequently, we obtained one of the most exclusive motorcycles globally, featuring a unique concept that completely redefines the traditional design.